Making sure that all the food and hard work doesn't go to waste can be key to having a happy start to the holiday season.
Yeah, and leftovers can be the best part of any gathering this time of the year. I am so bad at leftovers, I have to
Do you
say.
not like them?
I just forget about them. So hopefully I need some like sticky notes around my house to remind me of the leftovers. But I know a lot of folks, it's like, oh yeah, that is the best thing is the Friday after Thanksgiving.
I totally agree. So friend of the show, Jerry James Stone, is back with our guide to grubbing and saving for Thanksgiving and beyond. Thank you so much for being here with us. And there's a drought gripping much of the country, especially the West. But what items will be harder to find as we hit the stores this weekend? And what should we be on the lookout for to hold on to a little bit longer?
Well, I think whatever you do find, having those storage tips to make it last the longest is the best way to have a happy Thanksgiving, right? Whatever you can get in the store. I love cooking with fresh herbs, garlic. Those are like staples when it comes to cooking. So having some tips for keeping those around, keeping them fresh and tasty, and then you don't have to go back and get them, and they won't be missing.
Yeah, you can have them sticking around for a while. Another thing, of course, we see on the table is potatoes. They're, of course, the big staple of the fall since they can be mashed, baked, among other things. So help us peel the skin back on preparing those taters.
Yeah, so one of the great ways for peeling potatoes, they take a long time to peel, but if you actually take a knife and score around the widthwise of the potato, just cutting through the peel itself after you wash them and then add them to the pot of boiling water, when they're done boiling, you can actually just kind of pull the peel right off. You don't actually have to spend all that time peeling them, which is really great. Saves you a lot of time, much faster to peel than if you're just sitting there with a peeler. And another thing about potatoes too, if you want to make them taste the best, don't store them in the fridge. The cold from the fridge with the potatoes actually will turn those starches into sugars and change that flavor and change how they actually perform when you're mashing them.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. So you kind of touched on herbs and people use them more this year. What's an easy way to add them to your dishes and how do you keep them fresh in between meals?
Yeah, fresh herbs are a great way to level up any meal. And so I always store mine like cut flowers. So, when you buy those herbs and you want to, people typically want to buy their ingredients on the early side and have them last so they don't have to go to the store when it's crazy, right? So you can store them like cut flowers in the fridge and that will keep them fresh up to 2 to 3 times longer. So you just store them simple with a jar, just a little bit of water. You don't want the water to hit too much of the green part. But then what you can do when you're prepping those herbs, what I like to do is just pull them through a colander. You can pull the herbs through, and then all the green part lands inside the colander, and then you just pull out the stem. And it's just a really easy way to prep those herbs without having to pick off each leaf one at a time.
Well, okay, my sister-in-law just told me to store herbs like that. So I actually put herbs like that in my fridge in the water. So great to know that that was a good way to keep them fresh. Okay, so we got to ask, you're a big fan of garlic. So help us get some knowledge about how to get that into our plate, put it away for the next big gathering.
Yeah, garlic is another thing that's really kind of time consuming to prep, right? You have these little tiny cloves. But if you add the cloves to a jar and you can just shake the heck out of it for about a minute, all the peels will just break off of the cloves. So it's just a really easy way. You can peel a whole bulb of garlic in just almost seconds. So it's just a really fast way to get those bulbs. And nothing beats fresh garlic. I mean, you can buy the peeled stuff in the store, but that fresh garlic really has that punch, which I love. And so, yeah, if you just shake it, it's the easiest way to get those peels off.
And Jerry, I have a question for you. So when you have all the food out on the table during Thanksgiving, do you have any rule of thumb of like how long it's out there and whether you can reuse it or if you need to throw things away when you're planning for leftovers?
No, I mean, I think most food, once it's cooked, like you're pretty good. You can definitely reuse it and use those leftovers. You just have to have that sticky note that you're talking about to remember to eat them, right? So, but yeah, like there's so many different ways to use leftovers. But you also, just put stuff in the freezer for when you can get around to it. And there's a lot of different ways that you can reuse things and make them interesting. Like I like taking mashed potatoes and turning them into fritters. So like just kind of reusing stuff in fun ways to make the food exciting again.
And Jerry, so all leftovers are not created equal. So is there some that we should try to get to first, before they go bad or, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about your leftovers, you definitely want those like sort of leafier things. Things with the greens are going to wilt, and like especially that are dressed. Those will go fast. I would get through the meat products as quickly as possible too. There's definitely things you want to eat on the fast side, but the starchier things, the hardier things, will typically last in the fridge for quite a while.
All right. Well, we give thanks to our friend Jerry James Stone. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you once again. And if you need some hacks and snacks to get you through the holidays and beyond, check out this YouTube page. If you're looking for some vegan options that can save you money, along with ways to be a little more friendly to the environment around you, follow Jerry on Twitter.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry, so much for joining us, helping us to keep that Thanksgiving meal lasting a little bit longer.